TJ, once again, excellent segue bringing up Tim Walz, because Tim Walz is on my list of who can take the reins of the Democratic Party. So we're going to do, I didn't make a tier list. I made a little chart today.
Okay.
But I want to do this. I want to take a look at who can, will, and should take the reins as the leader of the Democratic Party, because right now, no one has. And there is, as I said, white hot rage in the streets. I'm actually, and I said this yesterday, and I continue to be confused by it, the political capital to be gained by just stepping out in front of the line and leading is incalculable. And there's no one around to shut you down anymore. So why not do it? So we're going to look at some of the options. This isn't all of them, but it is some of them, right? And so I made this on Canva, and I want to rate these 8 people here. The y-axis is effectiveness. If they were to be the leader, how good do we think they would be in just delivering wins for the American people? Mm-hmm. And then on the bottom axis, we have electability. What are their actual chances of becoming the leader of the Democratic Party? What will they be able to do it?
This is good.
First, we'll do the first and last thing here. I will start with Bernie because he's a really easy one, I think. And I'll go first here. I would say Bernie, if he was elected, would be very high in effectiveness, but because he's going to die any moment, he has like no ability to actually take the reins, because what's he going to do with them? He's too old. He can't lead a movement. So I would place him right the fuck there. What do you think? I might place him a little bit more because he has one of the better electoral track records, but he's just too fucking old.
So is this for president? Is this what we're talking about here, or
I don't necessarily, like, I'm not saying president 2028 or whatever, but I'm saying, like, right now we are leaderless. For the last 4 years, our leader has been Joe Biden, for better or worse. He has been the unanimous consensus leader of the Democratic Party. We don't have that right now. Like, maybe Hakeem Jeffries? I don't fucking know. Like, no one has stepped up as I'm the fucking guy. Donald Trump has been the guy for the past 8 years on the Republican side of the aisle. Who's going to be our next guy? And it could be a girl, but like, who's going to be the guy that takes over and is seen as the face of the Democratic Party?
So, all right, I would mostly agree, but I would move Bernie slightly higher on the electability, like not quite halfway, but like, yeah, right there, because I can think of people less electable than even an old Bernie Sanders. I think I would put him there.
I think that's fair. I think because Bernie, at least if it felt like the best possible option, I could see a scenario in which Bernie runs with someone else like an AOC and says, I'm giving over the reins. But honestly, at that point, why not just flip-flop it? So,
yeah. All right, who we got next?
Well, we got AOC. Where would you put AOC?
All right, AOC, I would okay. So one thing that bothered me about the previous election, and it's not that I thought their criticism was invalid or that it was even incorrect, is when people said that, well, I guess what we've learned from this election is that America is too sexist to ever elect a woman as president of the United States. And look, that might be true. I could easily see that being the case. However, you have to look at the situation a little more than that, because if your conclusion is, well, the voters are just bad people, okay, what do you do from there? Because if your solution is, we'll never nominate a woman, okay, at least you're being consistent. But they weren't saying that. They were just saying that the voters were bigots. But I don't think they're exactly wrong either. So I think that you do have to keep that in mind. So like, I don't think it's impossible. Like, I think there are scenarios, not a lot, but there were scenarios in which Harris could have won. But I would rank her higher than Bernie in the electability. I wouldn't put it like maybe like a halfway there, and maybe a little lower on the effectiveness for the same reason that it's how often have you heard people talk about how stupid AOC is? Oh, look at this dumb bitch. You know, what is she saying and everything? And it's simply because she's a young woman. Like, no one ever calls me stupid. Like, people may disagree with everything I say, but like, okay, that guy, he clearly knows what he's talking about. you switch my voice out, my face for a woman's, and those same folks be like, I don't know. They just, it's just harder in that way. So I would put the effectiveness a little bit lower, not necessarily because of her message, but because of a misogyny.
I see what you're saying there.
Mm-hmm.
I would rate her a little bit higher. I agree with you, a little bit less effective. And I'm not even saying that in terms of her policy or anything. I just think she's a little green still. Like, I don't think she has the experience and expertise yet to fully lead. Because again, I mean, it wasn't too long ago that she wasn't in politics at all.
Yeah.
And this is not a slight to her. This is just, she needs more reps. You know what I mean? But the thing with her and what you said, it's less the misogyny for me. It's that she tends to sound whiny. If she can figure out how to talk a little bit differently, like I think Kamala didn't have this problem, where like when she talked, she sounded like what you expect a female politician to sound like. AOC still kind of sounds like a fucking college kid a lot of the time, and she's gotten better at it. But I don't think she's found the exact right way of threading the needle that you're talking about that she needs to thread, right? So I agree with you in general. Would you say?
Said what I like. She's a young woman and she sounds like a young woman, and people don't respect those voices. That's just that. Exactly. Honestly, I think that's what it is. I don't think she sounds whiny. She just sounds like a 30-year-old woman. And when people hear 30-year-old women, so I was like, okay, well, how much could she possibly know? I don't think there's anything like maybe if she had a British accent, like people would take it more seriously.
She should develop a British accent. That would if she had a British accent, it would already be over.
Yeah.
But no. So the reason I think she's much more electable is of everyone on this list, she's got the biggest balls.
Mm-hmm.
Like if anyone is going to just step up and take it, it's her.
Mm-hmm.
And because like the rest of the crew here is all normal politicians. She ain't a normal politician. And so I would say that the biggest thing stopping Democrats right now is hesitation. And she's not going to do that. She's figuring out her move because she needs to calculate the right move, but she's still out there fighting. And when she wants to make the move, she can do it. I think she should primary the fuck out of Chuck Schumer. Pretty good coup d'etat for her.
Yeah, now's the time.
Anyway, next one. Our good friend Gavin Newsom. Had to put him on the list because he's at the top of all the lists. But I would personally put him bottom of both fucking guys. Actually, I'd give him a little bit more electability, but he's goddamn Satan in a blue suit.
Look, yeah, I am with you on the effectiveness, but I gotta begrudgingly
disagree. More electable?
I do. I hate to admit it, but I do. He is what most people think of when they think of politician, right? Like he looks like a cartoon. Have you ever met a politician in real life, like a high ranking?
But he looks like a Republican.
He does, which I think would work in his favor. Like,
okay. In the general
election,
yeah.
If he in the general election, you put him up against honestly any random Republican, he's not going to look any less weird or any less greasy or sound any less disingenuous. I think he'd be a home run for your average voter. Now, listen. Looking at it through our lens is like, oh, fuck this guy. No, like we've had beef with him on this show ever since he voted against that union stuff back in the day. But I don't trust Gavin Newsom as far as I could throw him. But your average person, I would bet 75% of Americans have never heard the name Gavin Newsom. And if you only know this guy for the year that he's running for president, he's going to be dotting his I's and crossing his T's, looking like a normal person, especially after 4 years of Trump. I think his effectiveness is pretty high, or his electability is pretty high. I hate that. I hope he doesn't get close to the nomination, but I think it'd be pretty high.
I think he has bad political instincts, and they're gonna show when he's more on the national stage. But I'm fine. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue too hard with you. He's clearly a front runner already on name recognition. California.
Yep.
The look. He's got the look. Can't argue with it. He looks kind of evil, but that appeals to a lot of Americans. So
this country's so fucking cooked.
All right. What do you think of Pete?
Oh boy, is it my turn first? Okay, so Pete, Wow, this is weird because Pete, in a lot of ways, reminds me of Gavin Newsom, but I don't think people would see him as quite as slimy. Wow. Wow. You know what? I'm gonna put Pete dead fucking center. Actually, I'm gonna put Pete dead fucking center because that's the thought I get when I think about Pete Buttigieg, in that he is gonna attract a lot of people. People say, "Oh, well, like I'm from Indiana. I live in Indiana, and he's from Indiana." And people in Indiana, from what I talked to, most of them did like Pete Buttigieg. It's like, look at this nice young gentleman right here. Oh, he's gay, you say? Isn't that quaint? I think that a lot of your he's the millennial that all boomers want, their millennial kids to be. They want them to be like Pete Buttigieg. I don't think he'd do a lot. He'd have the same problem as Harris and even Biden with galvanizing all the youth vote. So I think you got a good 50-50 push with Buttigieg.
So I think that this axis is correct. I am neither lost nor sold on Pete Buttigieg because I don't think we know what his actual politics are. Which you can say that for better or worse about the guy. I think the left doesn't like him because in 2020 he was with the establishment caucus.
Yep.
But he's kind of just been doing the good shit ever since then. He doesn't really come down hard on many controversial policy issues. He's kind of lukewarm in that sense, but his communication skills out of everyone in the Democratic caucus is the best. He is the best communicator that we have. And when you have that level of communication skills, and as you said, general likability, people just generally like Pete. I think that he won't have the aversion that Gavin Newsom will. He has more national name recognition and he's more battle tested. I would put his electability higher than AOC's. I'd put him in line with Gavin Newsom. Like, if we're putting Gavin Newsom here, I think Pete has to be here. I just don't know whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. It's complete. And I'm at the point where I'm willing to give him as much leash as he possibly wants. I think he's one of our greatest weapons right now. But I don't know what he stands for or what he will do once he has power. So
yeah.
Say what you will. Next up is Kamala. I think Kamala's quitting. If I'm Kamala Harris, I said this about Hillary Clinton. At least Kamala's young and has like tread left. Hillary Clinton, I would have just disappeared forever and never shown my face in public again. That's what Kamala's kind of doing right now. She's licking her wounds. I do think she probably takes Gavin's place as California governor because she has a lot of sway among the California liberal kind of people. And I don't think that her moment is now. And I'm higher than her on a lot of progressives are because of her voting record in the Senate. I think that she was dealt a bad hand with the campaign and should have done more and didn't. And that was a strategic failure, not a policy failure. So I would put her effectiveness up here, but in terms of short-term electability, she's a fucking dry powder or wet powder. She's got nothing.
Dry powder.
Right, whichever one it is.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I have a hard time arguing against this. I mean, I might put her effectiveness a little bit lower, but nothing to quibble about. And that I just like Kamala Harris never really had a lot of like a galvanizing wave. Actually, that's not true. She had the K-Hive, but it was a tiny little group of people, whatever. That, if she wasn't the vice president, she never would have had the nomination. Yeah, she was dealt a bad hand. And honestly, I think she did a decent enough job. I would have changed some things, obviously, Liz Cheney stuff and all that. But I just, I don't think that in an open primary, I think she'd get massacred. I don't think that there's any chance that she would rise to the top of anyone on the board here, or probably the other three up on the side. So yeah, I got no beef with that placement.
Yeah, if she has her shot, it's like 10 plus years from now. She needs to it's like when a quarterback flames out after they get drafted to the Browns or something, but then they have to go to play for a good coach and rehabilitate themselves. That's what she has to do. But we'll see if she has the gumption to do it. Your turn. Tim Walz.
All right, Tim Walz is my greatest soldier, and I don't mean that as like veteran to veteran, but I am high on the Tim Walz stock. I would put him near the apex of this, not quite at the top because he's not my number one. I guess he's my second greatest soldier. I have another one that I like, but I would put him almost as high as we possibly can in the top right corner, maybe a little bit of space, like a little bit down to the left, because I think I have a little bit more for my greatest champion. But Tim Walz, if you've seen him, he's been on fire this last week. He's been doing a lot of, I think he's doing town halls in red states. He's doing something I never see politicians do, where he says, look, that election loss we just had, that was on me. That was on us. We didn't do everything we needed to do. He's going out there. He's not afraid to, he was dunking on Elon Musk with how Tesla stock is falling, and he's very personable. He's a likable human being. He was the most popular person on either ticket. I think that Tim Walz, it's hard to wash off that stain of loss. Well, we thought it was. I mean, Trump had no problem doing it, but he's Trump. I think that Walz has a decent enough future ahead of him if he decides to stick with this.
So I think the stain of loss doesn't get placed on Walz for a lot of reasons. He's the vice president first and foremost. Like the VP isn't really influential in this, and at least in like Democratic primary circles, we all know that he was sidelined. He wasn't allowed to run. In fact, the fact that he is owning up to it, I completely agree with you. More politicians need to do this, especially Democratic politicians, because the foil on the other side of you is someone who never, ever admits they were wrong. And Donald Trump does that to an extreme degree, but you know what? The Democrats do the same fucking thing. Tim Walz is genuinely taking personal responsibility for this loss, even though he wasn't the one who was even close to being responsible. And that's what good fucking leaders do. I'll tell you what, TJ, he's here for me. Like I'm all in on Tim Walz. And you know what? An AOC or Bernie, better ideologically for our movement, 100%. I would run through a goddamn brick wall for Tim Walz. I think that his heart is in the right place. I think his political instincts are fucking fantastic. I think he is a leader of men. I think I think anyone who takes a defeated football team to the state championship in 3 years, that's some good leadership skills right there. Like he speaks like a normal person. His favorability ratings are like unheard of in this country. He's, in my opinion, because here was one of the biggest things I was upset about was that he wouldn't, if Kamala won, he would never get to be president. He can be president in 2028. He should step up here. In fact, this ticket right here is the one that I would hope that we go with. I would hope that AOC primaries Chuck Schumer, runs with him as her VP, and then is the heir apparent, and Bernie then supports all of this. That's a winning fucking ticket in my mind. That is a winning strategy to go from Tim Walz, who's going to be hyper effective, hyper likable, pass the reins, and let AOC bring about real significant change.
And I hate to be the downer reductionist here, but he also has the fact going for him that he's an old white guy. That's why
let him just put all of the goodness onto AOC before she runs for president. That way,
he people the stuff that we weren't fans of Clinton and everything, but the stuff that they would say about Clinton and how they made it a national campaign issue on whether Kamala sucked dick to get her job. The vile nature of our opponents here, giving them a lot less ammo with Walz. I hate to say it, but it's going to benefit him a lot that people are going, oh yeah, he looks trustworthy. That looks like a competent person right there. I can't put my finger on it, but yeah, I buy it. So yeah.
All right, we're running late here, so let's speed run here. Andy Beshear.
Boo!
Boo!
You know what?
So why are you booing? Because I have generally favorable opinions of Andy.
All right, so Andy Beshear, it's the Gaza thing, but I think that he would be definitely saddled with if Kamala lost because of Gaza, Beshear will absolutely lose because of Gaza. So I would say, I don't know. Let's move him a little further. I don't think he's that bad, but yeah, around there, I'd say. I don't have a lot of hope with Beshear getting out of the primary with a block, because that's what he's kind of like. People who are in this, that is the first thing they're going to think of. And plus, did he kill a guy? So yeah, that's not going to help him out either. What do you think?
I think that I'm going to say a lot of the same things about Beshear and Shapiro, in that they both are very effective governors in their states who don't have the best ideological politics for us, and also haven't really proven anything on a national stage to make me think they could be more electable. It's like, if I'm gonna continue the football comparison, it's like when someone has one really elite trait, like they're the fastest guy in the draft, but like we don't really know how they are at everything else, and then they don't actually do well because they just had that one thing. That's kind of what I feel like about them. I need to see proven effectiveness on a national stage. The one thing I would put Shapiro a little bit ahead of him on electability, just because I think that he's a goddamn good orator. You can put his communication skills on par with the Pete's of the world, and maybe even better given a speech. So that's what I give to him. Andy Beshear, like, prove me wrong, Andy. You know, like, if he ends up being effective on a national stage, not going to hate it. I like the potential there, but he's still a prospect. He's a developmental guy.
I want to thank John for not calling me out with that "didn't he kill a guy" thing. That was Shapiro, not Beshear. Thank you, John, for not.
I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. But I was like, he's talking about Shapiro this whole time.
Yes, I just realized that. I was like, oh my god. I don't know.
All us white guys look the same.
All those white guys I can't even say small states. Pennsylvania's a rather large state, so whatever. But yeah, John being a true professional right there, not throwing his co-host under the bus. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching so far. If you made it to the end of this video, that means, again, I haven't said this in a while, but you are my favorite subscriber. And if you aren't subscribed, clearly I'm not talking to you, because what the hell? Why aren't you subscribed? Subscribe right now. Like this video too. Share it with some friends, because that will make you even more of my favorite. TJ, do you have any words for our wonderful audience?
Listen, you guys have endless choice of podcasts and YouTube channels to watch and listen to, and we appreciate you coming to the one that has the host on there who doesn't know who the governors of states are. So we love it. We'll catch you guys next time.